DME equipment, and home tube feeding. And since I'm a dietitian, that's really what my specialty is. So we really work with patients one-on-one that require home tube feeding. We provide in-depth education. We provide just one-on-one TLC, answering all those questions. We work with patients in hospitals, in clinics, in their home, whatever is most convenient. We are really here to make sure that you, the caregivers, are successful and knowledgeable about tube feeding in the home. Does anybody have any questions about Abrea Healthcare that I could answer real quick? Okay, there's some, I have some cards out on the table. I've given out quite a few of my cards, and we had a respiratory therapist here earlier, and I know she gave out quite a few of her cards. So don't hesitate to call us. That's why we're here, to help you be successful in the home.
Thank you very much, Vicki. Go ahead and make a little draw there, and we'll see who's lucky next.
It's David Eckhart. Come on up.
There we go. Congratulations. Yep. Congratulations. And we're going to do a quick little stage run here while Craig's coming up. So can I have any of the helpers come up and move this equipment back to the corner so we can have it ready for participation when we're ready? Okay. So give us 2 seconds just to kind of move some stuff out of the way here. It's pretty light. Yeah. Okay. This one, this one's a lot to take place. There we go. Nope, that's fine. Yeah, can you just grab the other end of the table? I think that the table might go. If you just grab this. Here you go, Craig. Craig, is this one yours too? Okay, perfect. How can we rearrange this? You have a couple minutes if you can rearrange it. I'll get out of your way. Craig, the clicker is just on the stand there. It's a tricky one, I tell you. So it's just this side, and it's just, there's not really a button, so it's just kind of that angle that it'll switch for you.
Hello. Hi, again, my name is Craig Jacobs. I'm with ATG Rehab. Today also we have Rich Kissler with ATG Rehab. He's going to be helping out. We're going to talk about assistive devices and mobility and ambulation. I'm going to talk about the basic, more simpler products, and he's going to talk about the more complex because he's a little smarter. But that's okay because I'm taller. Some may say better looking. We'll leave that for now. So again, we're going to talk about ambulation devices and mobility devices. The key in kind of what we've already heard today, when we talk about assistive devices, don't focus really on the specifics of what this is. Focus more on how it can assist you in your day-to-day life. Some of the things that we look at when we're talking about these are, first of all, safety, remaining safe. We heard a lot today about conserving energy, being able to do more by the use of an assistive device. And one more. Independence. Boy, too much lunch. And about independence. Those really are the focuses on why you would look at different mobility devices over others and how they're going to aid you in your everyday life. Second thing is, when you're selecting devices, there's a lot to it, and it's kind of a team approach. Obviously, you're the driver of that team, but you're going to work with your physicians, you're going to work with a physical or occupational therapist, you're going to work with family members, caregivers, kind of a whole collaborative team to make the right selections for you on how it's going to best serve you in your day-to-day life. And thirdly, funding. Most of the stuff we're going to talk about today, there is Medicare insurance funding for most of the items. But again, it's working with somebody knowledgeable to kind of navigate through the process, working with physicians, gathering all the documentation to make these things affordable and brought to you. So just keep those in mind. So we're going to start with really the basics in ambulation devices. We start with a straight cane. Provides a little bit of stability for you, peace of mind, that type of thing while ambulating. You can move then, if you'd like, to a quad cane, which is the second one, has a little bit larger base, provides a little more stability and comfort for you. Folding walkers, when you're needing a little more in that supportive nature, both hands are on the device, move slowly, it's kind of around you as again, some of it can be psychological, just kind of containing you as you're doing your ambulation. The last is a wheel walker. Those are great in a lot of ways. You got brakes, it is really easily transportable, very supportive, and it also has a seat on it. So when you do get a little tired, you can lock the brakes, turn around wherever you are, have a seat, rest, and be safe there. From basic walking aids, then we move up to the manual wheelchairs. There's a variety of manual wheelchairs. Come on up, Anna. See, I'm taller, aren't I? So the first one we're looking at here is called a companion chair. And basically the real advantage of a companion chair is that it's very transportable, very, very light, and easy to operate. So when you need some extra assistance, if you want to go to a ball game, you're going to the mall, you're going someplace, you can use a device like this to again, conserve energy, lengthen your day, and be a little more comfortable. The only drawback is, obviously, is you can't propel it yourself. You have to be pushed. You could foot propel it if you wanted to, but the real ease is just being able to pick it up, get it in the trunk of the car, and go where you need to go. Okay, maybe I'm smarter. Then from there you move up to standard wheelchairs, which is kind of the center thing. Again, this is now going to be, you can self-propel this, be a little more independent with it. You start with a basic standard wheelchair, which is going to be a little heavier, but it is folding. You can still get it in the trunk of the car and things like that. Thank you, Vanna. The advantage then of moving to this type of manual wheelchair is, again, you have a lot of different features and functions that you can add to this chair as needs progress, and that if you need some type of supportive device like this, has a different type of backrest on it, a variety of leg rests that are removable, probably not going back on, but they're removable. It's a single-use removable leg rest. A variety of cushions. Obviously, if you're going to spend longer periods of time in the chair, some extra cushioning, back support, those types of things really aid in the endurance. These chairs, again, are going to be a little heavier than the companion chair, but they have a lot more variety of what you can do.
Why did the wheel come off so easy for transporting it?
Yes. It takes a little bit more weight out of the chair, and it makes it a little smaller for putting it in the trunk or closet or any place you need to store it. Most of the higher end chairs and the lightweight chairs like this it's a pretty standard feature, and they're safe. They've been proven to be reliable and safe. So that's the lightweight. And you can get rigid. If you're active and you have the abilities, you can get a rigid frame also, which can be a little bit lighter, a little sturdier, and if you're more active and want to be able to get out a little more, those are also a great option. And you can disassemble them and fold them to a point as far as getting them in and out of the car. Any questions on those three? No?
So what were you calling that one?
This second one here?
Yeah.
This is just it's a high strength, it's an ultra lightweight manual wheelchair. It's kind of the top of the line as far as this type of manual wheelchair goes. It's going to be the lightest features and be able to be adaptable.
So which one of those two pictures?
It's going to be the third one.
Oh.
And when you think about weight, just briefly in the funding, I know we don't have 12 hours, but when you think about weight, insurance looks at weight for the user and not for the caregiver. So when we talk about the weight of these chairs, we're talking about ease of propulsion and the energy it takes to propel the chair in longer distances and those types of things. So that's why they classify them in the different weights. A couple other more specialty type of chairs are, you have the reclining wheelchair on the left. Basically, that is a chair where the seat itself remains horizontal to the ground and the backrest will open in order to change positions throughout the day to be comfortable, and those types of things, and for different types of care, you would use that chair. One of the drawbacks of those is that they are a little more heavy. They do fold, but they are a heavier chair to move around and to transport. The next chair, which is fairly used, is the tilt in space. What happens here is, as opposed to the reclining chair where the bottom, the seat remains horizontal to the ground, it changes in space and rotates, remaining your hip angle and everything remains the same through there. Benefits of this are, again, if you're in it for long periods of time, change the position, pressure management to try not to develop any sores in the bottom, those types of things are aided with the tilt space chair. Some of the drawbacks, again, are that it's heavy. They do make foldable versions, but by the time you get the seating and everything on it, it's like taking apart a lot of stuff in order to get it to fold and get in the car. So typically the most popular unit isn't going to fold. You can fold down the backrest, things like that, but it's going to be a little more difficult to transport. But again, it's going to offer you kind of the wider range of supportive devices and ability to adjust yourself and be comfortable in those types of things for longer periods. Any questions on those? We're only going to be here 2 hours, so I got to make sure I keep going. Yes?
Yeah, to get that with a Hemi?
Yes, Hemi and specialty lighting and everything. It's great. I don't know, he's pretty big. If he pushes you good enough, you probably get a little going. Any other questions? Scooters. This is where Rich is going to take over business.
I see a few scooters out there. Why might you want a scooter? Do you want to do it for me? It's a powered mobility device. So a lot of insurances will still consider a scooter as the entry-level powered mobility device. Kind of in the same category as a power chair, because it has a motor. It has a battery and a motor. The insurance companies often lump them all together. What Craig's going to demonstrate is why you might get a scooter to remain independent in the community, where a family member can help you disassemble it and put it into a regular car. You obviously have to have full use of your upper extremities to be able to operate it. And what we like to talk about on the scooter is its room-to-room mobility. So obviously you would want to do it in the pouring rain or in a snowstorm, frigid weather. But so for less cost, you can remain mobile for long distances, or if you just need mobility from room to room, and you can still transfer in and out of it, it might be a consideration for you. The problem with what Craig said, we don't want to spend all day on insurance, but there are issues that come into play if you have your insurance pay for a powered mobility device such as this. They may be less likely to allow you to get a power wheelchair through that same insurer once that room-to-room mobility is, you need more mobility in the home. You're spending full time in the unit. You move to the power chair. I know some of our colleagues back there are looking at this seat saying, what the heck? This is the entry-level seat. So with a progressive condition, if somebody brings a chair out to you like this and it has this seat, just one more thought is make sure that the chair is capable of being adapted to something later. I forgot about the clicker. Oh, you did. So the one in the middle, the base, the powered base, is a mid-wheel drive. So the motor's right in the middle of the chair, but it does show the captain's seat. That lower base can be adapted to have the higher quality seating and positioning systems on it. As Craig described, working with your physician, physical therapist, and your chosen DME provider, the home assessment is also done. What's going to be best in your home environment, but also are you going to be using it outdoors a lot? Mid-wheel drive maximizes the accessibility. It turns in the smallest area, but it may not be the most beneficial for full-time outdoor use. The front-wheel drive so if a DME provider shows up with his seat and says this is the best chair, what's the first question you'll ask?
Is it interchangeable?
Can it be swapped out later if I need it? If they say no, then you just say, well, why are you showing me this chair? And you might select somebody else who actually is understanding the ALS. As Sarah said, if you're working with your physicians, your therapists, your DME providers, what's their level of knowledge of ALS? What's their comfort level with the progression of it? Front-wheel drive generally is a little bit better outdoor. It's one of the original indoor chairs. If you can see, it drives like a forklift. So if you think of a tight warehouse situation, the forklift is designed to manage tight turns, but it is a little bit different driving skill. So before you decide on any base, it's important that you get in them and try them, and which one fits your abilities to operate. And now what Craig is going to demonstrate. Fast forward and we're done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
See, it's not so easy, is it?
Sarah, it's not just you, yeah.
Yeah, it's not just my dad.
As he sped through that slide, I realized that I didn't talk about the different types of scooters. Some scooters are actually paid for by your health insurance. Once again, be very cautious with that decision. Again, working with the physician, your therapist, to make sure it's a long enough term decision that you don't compromise your ability to get a specialty chair later. But there's indoor models, mid-sized, and then outdoor scooters. Indoor is usually only what's covered by your insurance. If you choose to get something mid-size or outdoor, it's an out-of-pocket expense. Yes, of the power chairs. With the scooters, you have to have full use of both upper extremities is what we would recommend, so you have good control of it. On the power chairs, they can be right, left. You don't even have to operate it with a joystick. If you lose upper extremity function, you can move the joystick to a foot drive. You can move it to a head drive. Those are usually the typical ones. As long as your swallow and your breath aren't fully compromised, you could consider a sip and puff, where you drive with air pressure. So, believe it or not, this chair here, with the proper electronics, could adapt and change up to that full-end model. When you start talking about seating and positioning, that little picture here with all the little black dill pickles, that's a roho. It's a cushion full of air, and those individual columns of air allow it to match your body contours. There's also a little valve on there that locks that air in certain amounts of volume. Nice thing about a Roho, it's air, so you have a little bit of shock absorption as you're bouncing around. You have different types of back supports. If you're having trouble falling left or right, they make deeper contours, taller contours, and then the head and neck supports. Now I'm going to go out of order here. I'm going to go to the recline first, because we didn't have a manual recliner. A manual recliner is a rented item usually from insurance. So that's what Craig was talking about, is it changes your hip to back angle. It opens up your diaphragm, gives you a little bit of head stability. If you look at the chairs that you're sitting in here, back ankle's already angled back. But when we all ate, we lean forward. So if your ability to change position for tasks is compromised, the powered recline not only goes back, but it can bring you full upright so that you can actually do a task. But how many of us can sit there bolt upright throughout the day? So then you can recline for breathing, neck and head position. The next feature is the tilt. Some of the power chairs have limiting factors, so if you open the backrest too far, then the other powered seating function won't work. You can operate these controls through a touchpad, you can operate the seating systems through the joystick, or you can operate it through any other kind of switch device that you would need. So those of us sitting in regular chairs today, how many times did we move and shift our weight constantly today? This guy's leaning back and all relaxed. He's got his hands above his head and stretched out. So the powered seating functions allow somebody with compromised ability to move, no legs, to change position. You often don't find, and you guys probably could teach me, how often you actually go all the way back, or how often you all stretch all the way out. It may be less than just a few degrees here and there, just to get comfortable. And it's all about what Sarah was talking about too, is conserving that water in that glass. So if you wait till you're super fatigued and then you have to lay down in bed, her analogy is that water's all spent. So throughout the day you can change your body position. It'll help. Something else that I picked up on what Sarah was saying is with your physician visits. The 1 to 2 items that you speak to your physician about was a great idea, especially when it comes to mobility devices. Insurances require that the physicians speak to you directly about your mobility limitations. So if you go in with a long list of items, and the last thing that's addressed is your wheelchair needs, it's going to look like that to your insurance, that, oh, by the way, they need a wheelchair. So when you start needing mobility equipment, I thought that was just great advice, that you keep it to that discussion or related discussions about your safety in the home, your ability to do it timely. And he just grew. So why would you want a seat elevator? Now he's almost as tall as me. So a seat elevator is great for transfer assistance. It's the person up higher. And then you can still do a stand pivot transfer. Maybe you have proximal weakness so you can't really stand all the way. Once your legs are extended, you can still move. But the other thing is just this, to get better interaction. If you're at a concert, you're at different venues, you want to be up back to his normal height. So I'm not sure where we're on time, looks like she's walking up ready to boot us off.
I'm the enforcer.
And then I did briefly mention the drive controls. You don't, if you can't drive with the joystick, You have the sip and puff up on the top left. You have jelly bean switches, where if you just hit a switch, the chair will move forward. You hit the other colored switch, backs up, left, right. The Martian head array thing right there in the middle, that's actually 2 switches in the sides and a switch in the back, and then just with your head function, you can actually operate all the powered seating functions and the driving of the chair. And then you've got alternative joysticks on the right side, from micro switches to heavy duty switches, things of that nature. One thing we probably didn't have a lot of time to go over, so if anybody has any questions about, specific questions about insurance, why you might select something. One thing, how many of you have private insurance still? And how many of you have gone on to Medicare? So Medicare sometimes is painted as it's going to pay for whatever I need. Unfortunately, that's not true. If you just thought, if you have private insurance, if you need the cane, get the cane. If you need the scooter, you might consider, with proper consultation with your physician and your therapist, the scooter. If your goal is to move to Medicare, Medicare typically really limits what they purchase. So if you work with somebody on Medicare and you get a scooter, you may not get the power chair when you need it. Technically, you're supposed to, but the rules are such that it might become a problem. Any questions? Just, yeah. So the question is, are there chairs or devices that allow you to move to a standing position? And yes, there are. So on 2 different things. There are powered seating systems. Maybe a private insurance might cover it. That would actually help you come to a standing position that you could step off of. But there's also standing units that are designed just to stand you up with knee support, so you can drive the chair from an upright position. Once again, those 2 items are not covered by Medicare plan. Separate from a wheelchair, there are standing systems that you can transfer into for more of a therapeutic type of a standing position, where you transfer to it and then the system pushes you to a standing position for cardiovascular, bowel, bladder function, weight bearing through the legs, stretching through the joints, things of that nature. So Medicare doesn't cover any of that. Is that it?
And we might have one.
Oh yeah, okay. That's true.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
Are there models that are more off-road worthy and some that are pavement specific?
Yes. And so the mid-wheel drive is more indoor. The front-wheel drive, most people I think would agree, is more of an outdoor-indoor base. And then a rear-wheel drive chair, which we didn't have, very rarely covered because they don't really work in the home as well. They're not that they're not covered, they're not provided as often. So the rear-wheel drives are faster, have greater ground clearance, have greater range. And then there are some items that you wouldn't be requesting your insurance to pay for. And then they actually have power chairs that climb stairs with tracks, all sorts of things. But you're talking a pretty big cash expense out of pocket.
Oh, that one then. Where are they? I mean, resistant to dust and no light, rain, so to speak.
The only thing we don't suggest is you take it to a car wash. So you don't want to take a high pressure system and wash it off. The electronics are water tested, rain tested. You don't want to store them outside. I mean, the downpours we've had this year in Colorado, having grown here, I remember them as a kid, but I don't remember them recently. You wouldn't want to be caught in one of those. Some people would take a plastic bag and slip it over the controller But general, everyday, driving through a puddle, you know, as long as you're not sitting in it, going off-road, it's very durable.
You got one more question in front of you.
Oh,
If we've had an outdoor rear-wheel drive scooter, four-wheel, which we really love, and we'd kind of like to upgrade a little bit. And we're in a catch-22 situation because when we talk to vendors, they don't have them in stock. There's a 25% restocking fee or something like that. So my wife, you know, you kind of have to test things to make sure they're okay. So we're in this catch-25 position of not being able to test something. And if we don't like it, turns out it doesn't fit our capabilities, then we're out 25% for restocking. Do you have any advice on how to approach that problem?
a little bit. I mean, you can get into negotiations with one of the 3 suppliers here today and talk about that. The issue for the supplier is most of our industry is driven by insurance payments. And so when we order something in, we're waiting for that right insurance to cover it.
My question was not intended to be critical.
I completely understand it. You want to kick the tires, you want to drive it, you want to make sure that it's a good investment. I believe most of the suppliers here would have, you order it in, you have the right to refuse it if it's not what you expected when you got it. So I don't know that we have a 25%. I've never heard that from our company. But.
And again, that's why we made the comment, it's really important to know who you're working with and that they understand ALS in the process, because they're going to understand that it's not just one size fits all, and that as things change, you're going to need to change, just like he was mentioning with the chair. So, you know, I think that, you know, the providers here obviously understand and might be more likely to be able to work with you if that is even a standard practice in comparison to just going out and Googling somebody on the internet.
You know, one of the things that most of us do is if we don't have the product, if it's a brand that we handle, we have manufacturer representation in the region. We can often have the manufacturer bring in a demonstrator model. It may not be brand new, but they can bring it in from another part of the country and have you test drive it at no charge. So that's what we would do, is we'd call the rep and say, hey, you want to make a sale? Bring in that big four-wheel drive, you know, scooter for this lady to try.
And if we know what this scooter is that you're using, and if it's something you like, we obviously didn't start by trying to compare it with the best we can find similar to that and start with that. So when you get to the larger scooters, they're just not as readily available for the demos, but we work really hard to try.
Like I say, I'm very sympathetic to the supplier's problem, but it puts us in a jam on the other side.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not a great solution, but that's our best solution, is to get a demonstrator model in for you to try.
And all of these are going to be back, and we're going to leave them up here for time-wise right now, but all of them are going to be here when you do our participation time. So please feel free to get in and move around and make sure that you ask all of these great questions.
Did you have a quick question?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I had a question about like air travel.
Oh, perfect. Here, he did a thing on it last year.
Which ones can you take them all on board, or battery wise?
Yes. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, there's a lot of regulations as far as transporting power chairs. The biggest thing is to contact the airline ahead of time as much as you can. Tell them what you have and what you're going to need. They need to allow you, there's a variety of things, but one is they need to allow you to get to the gate if you want. You can take your power chair or your scooter right to the gate, check it there. They're going to pack it underneath. The biggest thing in the industry has always been the batteries, that they have to be sealed, gel-type batteries. Most chairs in the industry now are coming standard with those. You can always ask your supplier if they are. If they're not, the airline is required to take them out of the chair, package them in a box that's safe for transport, and get them there for you. So nowadays it's pretty simple to travel, and a lot of people do travel. Go ahead.
I think our son lives in Austin, Texas, and we live in Brandon, Colorado, which is on the western slope, and we found the best way to fly is any of the major airlines to take the end-of-year inexpensive chair, and the ALS Association of Austin delivers to my son's door my little list that he can unlock, and we use it for a week, we send him a thank you card, and they come pick it up after my God. And then one thing I have to hassle is just a hotel, and then the whole time.
that's an excellent resource to use the ALS Association and to the city that you're traveling to.
Absolutely, good point. Thank you
Thank you.
very much. And they'll be here again afterwards, so. And while we're bringing Nathan and Amy back up, I want you to pull out your toolkit. And we're going to get up close and personal here in this next little bit. And so this is Origin's body spray. So spray yourself to smell pretty so someone wants to touch you and hold you and not have you fall and hit the ground. So this is our little giveaway that's really neat in your bag. So if you're going to be up and close and personal, you want to make sure that you smell good, right? And I'll give this to you, Nathan.